Live.
Let's get it. Welcome to the Inside Carolina podcast on the Beat Live. I'm your host, Tommy Ashley, Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. With that comes On the Beat. With On the Beat comes Ross Martin and Adam Smith and producer John Bowman running the show. John, glad to have you back. It was a little stressful last week. I was trying to do StreamYard by myself, keep up with all the bots and everybody. So I'm glad you're here today. I just sent a tweet out, and I'm going to start with Ross Martin first. Is that Drake May apology legit?
I'm reading it now and going to retweet it. I mean, look, this is what makes sports great. And this is kind of what I've been fighting for in my 7-8 years in the media. Sports are fun. Let's make them fun. Let's talk some junk to rivals. Let's have and social media changes everything, but this is why it's fun for fans. You get involved, you say things you shouldn't have said or didn't mean to say, and it gets people riled up, and social media intensifies it. But for those who, should I set us up here? For those who are not aware of what happened, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Drake May said that, he loves UNC. He wanted to go to UNC. He grew up a Carolina fan. If you grow up in Carolina, you usually grow up a Carolina fan. Some people may say that State's the school, but really people who go to State just can't get into Carolina. When I heard that, alarm bells went off in my content mind. And I mean, Adam was there right next to me. We both heard it. I was like, all right, here we go. And look, honestly, from a journalistic standpoint, and just from being like a reporter, you're like, all right, if I tweet this out, it's going to go viral. I know exactly what's going to happen. And Drake May is a 19, 20-year-old kid, redshirt freshman. And, he's going to get applauded by Carolina fans. Carolina fans are going to love him for this. He'll be, he is already beloved by Carolina fans. They're going to love him more for this because he's talking junk and speaking truth about NC State. But State fans are gonna hate him. So this is kind of the deal when you're a quarterback of Carolina and you speak like this, but and you apologize. So there we are. That's the thing.
I mean, thank God they didn't come for Duke is puke, wake is fake. The team I hate is NC State back in the day, Adam. I mean, was that a thing when you were growing up? Because that was like we recited that all the time in school.
Milk, lemonade. Oh wait, I can't do that one. Yeah, that's we're the same age, so yeah. We did that. Just let me. I don't know if Ross needs defending here. He's a big boy. The way that Drake May got to that today. Well, I mean, Ross, I love you, so I will. But I thought was a smart line of questioning by Ross because I'm always interested in what Drake May has to say. He's just insightful and fun to talk to, and he's usually always in a good mood. And if you listen closely, he's honest about things. And Ross asked him, were you recruited by Notre Dame? Which I thought was a good question. I mean, he was a very known guy in recruiting, obviously an Alabama commit. I'm sure he probably could have gone wherever he wanted to go if the circumstances worked out. And then followed it up with a question about Sam Howell, and Sam Howell being a star from the Charlotte area, and Drake knowing him when, they were younger, and if that swayed Drake's decision, and then Drake took it from there. So I thought it was good stuff from Ross. When he asked the Notre Dame thing, I was like, that's a good question because I'm curious if Notre Dame recruited him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't set him up or anything. I just asked him if because I remember when Sam Howell started like kind of balling under Mac Brown and was doing really well in 19. That's when Drake May flipped from Alabama because he kind of saw the momentum turning and UNC kind of building something. And so I was just trying to get an answer from him about that. Like, was that a big decision in you flipping unrelated to Notre Dame, unrelated to NC State? And he just took it from there. And I mean, look, it's going to get out somehow. And I just, I kind of just put it, obviously most of my followers are UNC fans. So I knew what would happen when I tweeted it out. And exactly what happened. And here we are.
And I thought it was Ross's tweet to make too, by the way, because Ross asked the question. Some people, will just tweet out quotes from stuff. They'll sit there and never ask a question for years. but that's a whole nother topic about some nerdy stuff nobody cares about. But I thought it was Ross's thing to tweet out because Ross asked the question. So I hope Drake doesn't feel bad. I'm sure he's gotten slapped on the wrist by some of the UNC athletic staff people if he's putting out an apology. He's probably having a bit of a rough Tuesday night, but
let's read the apology here. Let's read the apology here for our podcast listeners. Drake May, I made a remark today about NC State, and I want to apologize. I was answering a question about playing in-state and said something I shouldn't have. I said it as a joke, but it was inappropriate. I feel bad and need to do a better job representing our program and this university. I mean, basic apology. And it's something a lot of UNC students and a lot of UNC alums and UNC fans think. He said it, and here we are.
If that was inappropriate, I can imagine what he heard last year on the sidelines amongst it. It's just it blows my mind. Rivalry jokes are fun, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes, like you mentioned, Ross, it makes it fun when you talk smack and all that stuff. You don't want it to be dirty, and you don't want guys taking cheap shots and all that stuff. But talk smack. It's what sports do. If you can't talk it there, where can you talk it? Anyway.
You know what I thought of, too? I mean, think about how bad Luke May used to torch the Wolfpack in basketball.
What if he said, I think what my brother thought? Yeah, I think how my brother thought. And you saw what he did to the pack. I mean, would he have said, I'm sorry, my brother was just inappropriately abusing? I don't know. It blows my mind.
And this goes into a broader topic that's not really sports related, but just the sensitivity of people, that the fact that he has to apologize is, you could see it coming, but people are just so sensitive, and social media intensifies it. And people get so worked up, and it's like, God, relax. Let's have some fun. Talk smack back. Beat him on the field. I mean, if he loses the state, that tweet's me brought up. If UNC loses the state, you can imagine what state fans are going to say, on Thanksgiving Saturday after that game. If he gets sacked 6 times and throws an incompletion or throws an interception, it's going to be right back in his face. And it's deserved if that happens. And that's
and the chat has mentioned Banghart. I mean, she said the small gym deal or whatever she said, and then State beat the hell out of Carolina. Mm-hmm. That's how you handle it, right? That's how you say, well, I don't know. What were you going to say, John?
There's kind of a life cycle here where athletes are disincentivized from saying interesting things, because if they say something interesting, it kind of gets blown up and it's thrown back in their face. So we have to support student athletes who say interesting things. It'll lead them to say more interesting things. And also, my favorite part about this is knowing Luke May. It's just such a polar opposite. The two brothers could not be any more different. I mean, Luke May, you could not get him to say anything about anyone. He would barely even talk good about himself. And then here you have his brother, who's, from all accounts, listening to Ross and Adam, a very open guy, and he maybe learned his first media lesson tonight.
Yeah, and so I thought about this when I was tweeting it out. I was like, man, I tweet this out, it's going to blow up, and he's not going to want to talk to us as openly. And he's going to know it's me, too. And so that's kind of what was going on in my mind. It's like, all right, I tweet this out, and that's why it blew up. I mean,
other people tweeted it. Other people did what Adam said. They sat and watched and then tweeted the quote.
And now there's a chance he just won't be as open with us and not say as many good things, but it was going to get out anyway. So he may be more reserved now, and that sucks if that happens this early, 3 games into his college career.
People love Lane Kiffin.
Ross hears me talk way too much as it is, but I've been saying I just hope he remains who he is his career takes whatever path, because he's just enjoyable to talk to. It's like a pureness about him where if you ask him something, he'll answer it. Sometimes he gets a little tongue-tied, but then I don't talk that great either, so, I mean, you just hope that he stays this way, because I couldn't agree with you more, John, that I would bang my head into the wall trying to get an insightful comment out of Luke May. Luke May, great player. Just didn't have much time for questions. I don't know if something turned him off. I don't know if something happened after he hit the shot to beat Kentucky. I don't know. But Drake is a starting quarterback, and he is very welcoming with us, and it's much appreciated because, as the starting quarterback, it's great to talk to you on Tuesday. It's great to talk to you after every game. So I've been thinking that I'm hoping that he stays the same. Even before this happened, I've been thinking to myself, saying to Ross, saying to other people, gosh, I just hope, that he's the same Drake right now after 3 games as he is in year 3 as a starter, if he's still around Chapel Hill.
It reminds me a little bit of a situation a few years back with Andre Smith and Lamar Jackson, where Andre Smith kind of got trapped into saying that UNC would stop Lamar Jackson and shut him down. And obviously that didn't end up happening. I think this is a little bit different because if you go back and listen to Ross's question, it was very open-ended. So Drake, it wasn't like a, direct question that you asked him. It was just sort of, that's where he took it.
Yep.
So hopefully he understands, that. And you could kind of see after he said it too, he kind of like stepped back a little bit. He kind of knew like, oh boy, what did I just do? Maybe.
So he was talking like we talk with our buddies. I mean, this is how you talk crap to your state buddies. Or I mean, I wouldn't even say that to my state buddies because it is kind of offensive to their intelligence. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, all right, but it's so true. Like, sorry, I got friends that didn't get into Carolina and they went to state and they grew up Carolina fans. All due respect, but great memory, John. I do remember that, and I remember Andre Smith was like, "Yeah, we're going to try to shut him down. He's not going to run all over us." And Lamar Jackson torched Carolina in Keenan, and I remember that because Andre Smith was awesome. I had a great relationship with him. He sent me a photo of him and Lamar Jackson on a recruiting trip to, I think, Louisville. He was like, "Dude, tweet this out, man." Like I think he was kind of like, "Man, we're playing Lamar Jackson." Heisman winner at that point. I think he'd won the year before they played Carolina. Is that right?
I think he won it that year in part because of that, didn't he?
I'm not sure. But
we will look it up.
It was a big deal that Lamar Jackson was coming into Keene Stadium, and he was like kind of playing into it. He was like, dude, here's a photo of us as high school juniors on a recruiting visit. I was like, sweet, man.
Yeah, you're right. He was a Heisman winner coming in, and he had like 565 yards total offense.
So he was a Heisman the year before, right, Tommy?
Yeah. So it was a big deal that he came. He won the Heisman in 16, and if my memory serves, that game might have been in 17. But yeah,
a comment that Chris Phillips made over here in the chat was interesting enough. He was saying that Drake was on ACC Network and didn't seem that different. Just Ross and I seeing how the sausage is made. Drake talked to us this evening, probably 5:30, 5:45, Ross, at the Keenan Football Center. And then as soon as he was done with us, they literally went around the corner and got into the studio to do the ACC Network hit with Mark Packer and Trey Paulson and those guys. So,
that was before the knuckles.
Chris,
that was before the knuckles got wrapped.
Yeah, so that's like he talked to us when he was stepping away from the lectern there. He was headed to talk to the ACC Network. So yeah, he was he hadn't gone viral at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if they're listening, talk, man. Say what you think. It's so much more fun, like these guys mentioned, to talk to athletes that say what they think and put it out there. People talk about Lane Kiffin all the time. People talk about Deion Sanders all the time and all the comments they make. I mean, would Mike Leach be a cool dude to cover if he just sat there and said, we ran the ball well, we did. I mean, it's players got to be players. They got to be personalities. Otherwise, we just breeding a bunch of robots, and that doesn't do anything good for anybody. Let's get into this. And if folks don't know what Drake May said, a couple of people in the chat have said, what exactly he say? It's everywhere. Yeah. Follow Ross Martin. He's got the exact quote.
Watch it on YouTube Shorts, Inside Carolina YouTube Shorts.
Did you already make a video for it, John?
Oh, yeah. I was on top of it.
Dude, John's on top. Dude, John
from the bye week with a vengeance. I mean, by the way, I wanted to say it at the top. I honestly did. Tommy, I thought, did a great job last week holding our hand, leading us.
I feel a butt coming at him.
No butt.
Hey, John, Adam, is something brown on your nose.
And now I'm looking a little red-faced. And now John is back, and the family's back together. So John is back, stronger than ever. And Tommy was excellent. My nose looks fine, I think.
John sent me a little message. Said, "Man, I've been slacking on this bye week," and I was like, "Man, John, we all kind of took a little break. Yeah. We all deserved it.
You got to get the breaks when you can, because basketball season's coming.
That's right.
Yeah, but thank you, Drake May, for making the first 15 minutes of this podcast extremely interesting. for the Inside Carolina team and the Inside Carolina fans and the Carolina football fans. Let's get into what we have at hand. And Ross, I'll come to you. I listened to all the press conferences this week, but I want to get your take on Gene Chizik and the defense talk. What'd you think? What'd you think of how Chizik answered questions and how things have been for him this week, judging from his responses, I guess, yesterday on Monday in his press conference?
Well, I messaged Adam today. I said, Adam, what are you going to write on? And I was like, I'm around this. And he was like, why don't you write on the defense taking baby steps? And I mean, if all goes as planned, I'll have a quick little article about the defense taking baby steps during the bye week. And, it's the normal kind of answers with Chizik, but it was back to the basics and fundamentals over the bye week and having good practices and working on angles and working on this communication stuff, which is so boring to hear about. Like, figure it out. I mean, like, it's just so tough to write about communication. It's like, let's go. This is week 4, but it seems like with the new defense that is supposed to be more simple, that there's still work to be done. And I think, honestly, go and listen to Ray Vohasek. Somebody gets so mad at me when I mispronounce it. Never gets it right. I mean, he is so good to listen to about the defense. And he had some good things to say about he thinks they're still good. He thinks there's still a lot of potential there. They have the players. Just got to figure some things out. And look, they know Mac Brown and Chizik know it's not good, and there's a lot of issues, communication, and all 11 players doing their job and things like that. But it's the basic answers, the basic plays need to be made to make things happen. And we'll see against Notre Dame going against a very, very good offensive line and 4 and 5 stars. But it was still fundamentals. Those things are supposed to be ironed out in preseason camp. I don't know, Adam, your take on the defense? Like,
yeah,
Ross, what else can you say about it?
I'm with you. I know. I wasn't trying to force you into doing that. I just was trying to suggestions. I threw out a suggestion about what Drake May focused on the bye week. But, yeah, well, I think what perked both of our ears up yesterday when we were talking to Mac and the coordinators was Mac sort of intimating or saying directly that Gene hasn't shown everything with the defense. And I believe that's what he said. But it was framed from the context of fundamentals. It wasn't like, hey, Gene's been holding these 4 blitzes back and Gene's been holding this back. It was, he's trying to do a full rebuild or revamp or reconfiguration here. And they are starting with the fundamentals, and they are still in the fundamental phase of that on defense is the way I took it. Gene did say after Mac talked to us yesterday that they had 4 really good days of practice. But we could do a whole other podcast on something that was a topic with Gene. What constitutes great defense in 2022 when everyone runs the spread and everybody's hard to defend. Everyone has a good quarterback, by and large. Everybody has it's just different now,
It's scoring defenses, right? That's his thing. It's scoring defense. And, 24 points, 30 points can win you a game if that's what you hold a team to this day and age. Whereas, 10, 20 years ago, if a team's scoring in the 20s or 30s, you're going to lose. But now with how good the offenses are, it's about turnovers and then just limiting these explosive. Like Mac was saying, I was going through some quotes today. Mac was saying how the defenses are so behind these offenses in some way, which is the defense is always trying to catch up to the evolution of offenses, which I think was, this is like Greg Barnes is just like, somewhere his ears are perking up about that quote,
I'll ask him about that on Thursday.
Behind the offenses, evolutionary wise, and behind the offenses in game because of how fast most teams play. And Mac was saying, you're trying to get a call to your safety. You're trying to get a call to your inside linebacker just during the course of a game. And, the teams are going faster and faster and faster, and you're trying to get lined up right. It's
like defenses are reactionary, right? They're responding to what the offense is doing. And if you're doing that, you're always playing catch up, right? Is that a good way to look at it? I don't know.
I think so, Ross. Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, let me ask you both this, and Ross, since you brought that up, I'll say this: does what happened the first 3 weeks show the inherent problems with thinking you're good in fall camp? They thought the defense was going to be really good. It was all this, it was all that, or were they just coach speaking us in the media, the fan base, talking about how much better this defense is going to be? I mean, I just don't think you can see how good you're actually going to be when you're practicing against yourself, your offense and all.
I think they thought they were going to be better than they are. And I think, as we discussed, I think they thought they were going to have to lean on the defense to try to work in a new starting quarterback and a whole bunch of new receivers and running backs. I think that's what they thought. And if you got you have the roster over here, you have the depth chart, and you look at the guys they have on defense, that makes sense. So that's what I thought. I thought that they thought they were going to be better, and they haven't been. But it's 3 games in, and there have been some bright spots, and there have been some not so bright spots.
And look, 2 great quarters against App State, which were destroyed by an awful quarter. One really good quarter against Georgia State, the fourth quarter, and really responding. Was it only 3 points off of 3 UNC turnovers? So I mean, there's bright moments where they put it all together, and they're Gene Chizik, I think a quote was, "We're trying to put 4 quarters together."
Yeah, it was. If you count the 4th down they got stopped on their side on their own 39, it was like 4. It was 3 turnovers and 4 situations there where the Carolina defense only gave up 3 total points at Georgia State. And yeah, they were up 21-3 on Georgia State, and then Georgia State scored 25 unanswered points, and they were up 41-21 at App State. And then everyone knows what happens after that. So yeah, to Ross's point, yeah.
Fields Pierce in the chat makes a good comment. How could the offense that has looked where'd it go? Okay, right in front of me. How can the offense that has looked so good not have dominated the defense in fall camp? That's what I mean about the coach speak and what we get.
First of all, how fratty is that name? Fields Pierce. It's like, should be Fields, Poindexter, Pierce the 4th.
He got into UNC. He didn't have to go to State.
Yeah, that's a great first name, Fields Pierce. It's like a law firm, Fields, Peace, Smith and Moore.
I thought it was Wes Miller in the picture. Shout out, Fields. Appreciate the question.
Yeah, coat and
That's
tie
the
picture
old
too.
background.
No, I love a good name like that. Fields is a great name. How could the offense look so good? Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, look, Drake May should have been torching the UNC secondary.
Well, they were splitting the reps during fall camp. It was Drake and Jacoby. I'm not saying Jacoby Criswell's a bum, but I mean,
maybe the defense looked really good against Criswell.
They were splitting the reps. Spencer Rowland was trying to get into business school or whatever he was doing down there. It's not from what we learned. We didn't get to see, but did we just get to see the one practice? Was that all we got?
A practice and a scrimmage.
Right. And the defense did. By all accounts, the defense was performing better.
It's y'all's fault. It was the media's fault for hyping the defense. I think I heard that last year.
I think Greg and I said this early on before we brought Adam Smith on that, dude, preseason stuff is just, you can't buy into it. You can't buy into the hype. You can't believe what they're saying because they're going against themselves, and you're in a vacuum of you're not going full steam against another team. So I don't know. This is 4 or 5 weeks ago about the UNC defense in preseason camp, but
seems like a lifetime ago to me, honestly.
Hey, great opportunity this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, Golden Domers. They got a quarterback that's still working in, but a good team, and this will be a huge win for UNC. I mean, let's just set the stage here, Tommy.
Yeah, let's get it after the break. Ross, do the read for me, man. I love your Johnny T-shirt reads and your other reads.
I was looking for me. Let's go Blue Shark Vodka first. I think Connor Barth will be in town this weekend. Blue Shark Vodka, smoothest vodka in the world. This is a special bottle, but they have the half gallon and the regular 5th at all 100 ABC stores. Guys, you're gonna get vodka, smoothest vodka in the world, accessible price point, smooth Carolina sweet corn. Man, that sweet corn in that vodka, so smooth, so smooth. Local company, we want to support local. Always try to buy local. Right out of Wrightsville, and they're Carolina owned. Connor Barth has an ownership stake in them. So support us. They support the presenting sponsor of the Calling the Shots podcast and video show, Blue Shark Vodka, and Johnny T-shirt and johnnytshirt.com. Local company right on Franklin Street and online at johnnytshirt.com. I'm in the business. I'm in the market for a new polo shirt. I'm not sure if I can get a Carolina shirt just to stay unbiased, but I'm gonna shop there for a sweatshirt, a crew neck, a hooded sweatshirt. It's getting a little, it's 50 degrees, 60 degrees in the morning. Go to Johnny T-shirt, and all inside Carolina subscribers get 10% off with that discount code. Tailgate season, you forget something, you're at the bowls lot, going to see Tommy and Buck, and you forget something for the tailgate. Head to Johnny T-shirt on Franklin Street, pick it up, stop in, put the double blinkers on your car, and hop in a Johnny T-shirt. Use the promo code Johnny T-shirt, johnnytshirt.com. Back to Tommy.
National guys will pay the bills. It's On the Beat Live. It's about 9:29, 9:30 on the East Coast, right on time. All right, boys, we're back on the Beat Live. Adam Smith, Ross Martin, John Bowman, Notre Dame, Saturday at 3:30. Inside Carolina Live tailgate show live from the Bowls lot starting at 12:30 to 2:30. If Connor Barth's down there, we're going to drag him on the show, Ross. Let's talk. Ross, you mentioned this is a great opportunity. And I think this is what Mac talked about, and I think this is one thing that's maybe being missed, is this is a big deal for Carolina. This is a huge game for Carolina. I don't care if Notre Dame's 1-2, 3-0, 0-3. That came across, especially when you were talking to Rava Hasek, it came across that this is a big deal for these guys, and they've gotten worn down and beat up late the last couple of years in Kenyon Stadium and last year in South Bend. I get the sense that Mac Brown understands the importance of this. The players certainly seem to as well.
That's me.
Yeah.
Are you asking me?
Go ahead, Adam. Take it. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm still the Ross Reed. I was thinking of the meme. It's corn when he said
Oh my Lord! I heard that.
Sorry.
My kids love the corn guy, the corn little kid. It's corn. Yeah, I mean, it's Notre Dame. It is a national brand. You don't get much more famous than the Fighting Irish. I think Carolina's going to win the game. I think Carolina's going to win the game 27-23.
Oh, you're already getting in on the questions?
I mean, I've thrown out a prediction every week.
Write it down, John.
He's been writing them down. I was wrong. Well, I've been right, but the scores have been a little off. Carolina's going to win the game 27-23. 3:30 p.m. Saturday afternoon on ABC. Ross mentioned it. I think that Notre Dame's backup quarterback, Drew Pine, will never be confused for Joe Montana. I hope I'm not setting him up to go crazy. But, from what we've seen with him under center, it is a straightforward offense with them. They are going to pound the power running game. They're going to try to put him in positions where he can make throws that aren't crazy challenging. They do have an All-American tight end in Michael Mayer, but he only caught 2 balls against Cal because, their offense looks simplified to me. So, it's going to be a man's game. You're going to have to step up and you're going to have to hit somebody and you're going to have to stop somebody. And as you alluded to, after Notre Dame came into Keenan in the pandemic year 2020, Mac talked about it for weeks, if not months, about how they got manhandled on the offensive and defensive lines. And that's where they have to be if they want to be a national caliber program. Mac has been talking about that for 2 years.
Could you think of a better matchup, though, for what UNC's defense is and what Notre Dame's offense is? This is Adam, you were too nice to Notre Dame. This is an offense that is in despair.
Don't take the cheese, John. Don't take the cheese.
No, I am very well versed in Notre Dame football. I know the team.
Go ahead, John.
I watched them quite a bit. This is an offense that was bad in their first game, and then they lost their starting quarterback. And on Saturday against Cal, they were all over the place. The quarterback backup, Drew Pine, he was missing snaps. They were dropping easy passes left and right. So could you think really of a better matchup for this North Carolina defense than matching up against this Notre Dame offense that cannot throw the ball deep? I have one stat before I throw it back to everyone. PFF has 4 types of passes: behind the line of scrimmage, short, medium, and deep. And Notre Dame on Saturday against Cal threw 2 passes medium, that's 10 to 19 yards, and 1 pass attempt deep beyond 20 yards. That's it. This is a very interesting matchup for the UNC defense.
So
Because
Georgia Tech had a quarterback. Georgia Tech used to have a quarterback that couldn't throw a spiral to, on the baseball, from 50 feet. And he would torch Carolina because Carolina would have to sell out to stop the run, and he'd just throw it over the top. Notre Dame's going to do the same thing. We'll talk about it more later this week, but I think Notre Dame's going to load up and run it and run it and run it.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Let me bring one thing up for all our listeners out there. John Bowman is a Notre Dame fan. I asked his dad went there. I mean, that is John's.
Okay. So you have legitimate verse in Notre Dame.
I remember when John lived with me during COVID, and it was when UNC I was struggling. I don't know what the deal was, but I asked him, I was like, "Who are you cheering for, John? Notre Dame versus UNC?" And I think he was cheering for Notre Dame because Notre Dame had a better chance of like advancing to the playoff or something. So
my only correction there, I'm an unbiased journalist. I do not root for anyone.
So John does watch Notre Dame and knows that team probably better than any of us. But I'd be interested. I mean, John is a Notre Dame fan at his core. Look at that guy. That guy could have been the little leprechaun.
Good job on your dad getting into Notre Dame, by the way, John. Congrats to him.
Yes, I know I couldn't for sure. So
I will freely admit I've been up there multiple times to see ball games, and it is an unbelievable place. And but I ain't pulling for them, even if I love the campus. And even, my dad went where he was supposed to go. He went to the school he could get into in North Carolina, and it wasn't the one down in West Raleigh. But I just think Notre Dame's going to come into this game, and let's get into it a little bit. You guys have seen this Carolina run defense. We talk about the pass defense. It hadn't been good. It's got to be better. But has the run defense been that much better when it's mattered? Adam?
It's going to have to be Saturday. I mean, I just feel like they're going to pound those 2 backs. What's the guy's name? Estime, John? I just feel like it's going to be power running, straight ahead, coming at you. We're going to hit a little play action and waggle Drew Pine out on the perimeter, maybe a little run pass option. And somebody's going to need to be up in Michael Mayer's shirt. I mean, the guy's an All-American. He caught 2 passes against Cal.
He can't throw it to himself.
It's true. But about the UNC run defense, I don't know how to answer it because Chase Bryce went ballistic, 376 yards, 6 touchdowns. I thought the UNC run defense acquitted itself well for those shut at that second and third quarter basically shutout they had at App State. Georgia State was a bit of a different animal. You had the Darren Granger quarterback who's good on the run, not the greatest thrower. I thought UNC secondary just got mixed up a couple times down in Atlanta. And, you saw what happened with them ending up arguing with each other after the 1 touchdown pass. But they're rolling Travis Shaw in there more. Miles Murphy's back at practice, right, Ross? Isn't that what we heard?
Maybe.
Miles Murphy's back.
Full go rotate him in, baby. Kevin Hester, Ravo Hessick, Miles Murphy, throw in Travis Shaw.
Manscaped.
Javari Ritzy, just throw the bodies in there. Let's go to work. Desmond Evans, your boy, the butcher. The bodies are there. This is the time to shine. I think the run defense has been, average, above average. And this is the time. This is the time to show what you got. 4 games in. It's a big stage, and Vahasic's pumped up. Vahasic.
He's from out there. That was a great line of questioning, I thought.
He's a Midwest guy. I asked that question, and Adam just laughed. I don't know why. But, he grew up a Notre Dame fan. So, this is a big game for him.
You ask it, Ross. I said he's an Illinois guy.
Yeah.
I laughed because I'm glad you asked it. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. This is 3rd time playing Notre Dame, and they've lost every time. They've only beat Notre Dame twice, and one of them's been vacated. The last win was 2008 with Cam Sexton behind center, and that's been vacated on Winsipedia. So
that's a great website, by the way.
Yeah. You share that with us. I've been going to that website a long time. It is great. It's awesome. You see every single game, and you can see a score. It's a great website, Winsipedia.
The all-time series. The Carolina has the all-time series as 20-2, but Ross is right. The 2008 is vacated. So,
but I would go 20-2 too. You play the game, you won the game. I'm not a big vacate guy.
Yeah, that's stupid. You going to take it off the record books? Well, only nerds look at record books anyway.
Whoa!
I'm joking. I did not. That my opinions are my own.
Fit all the nerds out there. Tommy.
Stats. It's lies, damn lies, and stats. What we got left, boys? It's about 9:39. Not much more to talk about other than just a huge game for Carolina. Anything different you'll think we'll see from the offense? How are they going to work Josh Downs?
Yeah. Let's talk about that. I mean, so we think right now, kind of reporting this week, and based on kind of what Drake May said and Bryson Nesbitt said, we think based on intel that Josh Downs, Antoine Green are full go. And I heard that from a source today as well. They're full go, full contact, every rep in today's practice. And so they're going to get those two guys back. Now, how much do you play them? I think you play Josh Downs as much as he can go. He probably can go the whole game if he wants to. How much do you bring? Antoine Green's kind of the different story. He's coming off a collarbone injury. How in shape is he really? Contact. Maybe split his reps half with J.J. Jones and Gavin Blackwell, and then working Kobe Pacehour. Remember, Josh Downs can play anywhere as well, so you can move him outside as well. So that'll be interesting just to kind of watch how many snaps each guy gets. And you expect Downs to be out there as many snaps as there are. But look, it's been a great wide receiver group so far with Pacehour, J.J. Jones, Blackwell, and now you add in what we thought were going to be the two best wide receivers, Green and Downs. So it's just the rich get richer. More bullets for your gun, as Phil Longo said on Monday. Adam?
Yeah, I was thinking just the way you're talking there, I randomly remembered Phil Longo talking about Josh Downs' endurance weeks ago when he was healthy and fine. He's like, he's a freak. He is a machine in terms of you don't have to limit his snap count. So, and Ross is right. Like another beautiful thing about Drake May is that he just said, he didn't announce it with a horn. He just said to us today, it's great to have three back out there, see him running around catching passes. So right there, boom, he's practicing. The expectation, the optimism was there, but there you go. The quarterback told you, I'm throwing passes to number 3. It's great to have him back out there. So as Ross and I talked the other day on the videos that we do, which my father actually said to me, he thought that was a podcast, but we don't have to get into that. I saw the podcast with Ross did.
Yeah. My parents have zero idea of what I do.
Yeah, they think if they go to InsideCarolina.com, the computer's going to blow up somehow. I'm like, it's fine. Just go over there, click on whatever you want to click over. But
they're used to reading you on the paper.
Yeah, I mean,
let's look what little Adam wrote in the little paper today down in Mebane.
Well, what happened to Adam? He's not in the paper anymore.
I was in his paper, and little Adam's his paper now.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be. We've talked a lot about Notre Dame offense and the UNC defense. Here you have Josh Downs and Antoine Green coming back to an offense that at times has been electric with Drake May. I mean, Drake May's been playing without these two guys, and he's been doing fine. I think the 11 touchdown passes, he's tied for first nationally in touchdown passes, and nobody in the ACC is anywhere close to the 930 passing yards, 11 touchdowns for Drake, only one interception. So, I mean, I think that bears watching. I think it bears watching if you can get Omarion Hampton grinding out some of those tough yards. I think the yards are going to be hard to come by in the running game. If you can get Petaway some space, if you can get him, I think the yards are going to be hard earned on the ground, and we're going to see what type of decisions Drake makes through the air, and the decision making has been good from him so far. So I'm really interested to see the game. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying Carolina's got to run the ball successfully to beat Notre Dame, and that's usually the case. but Carter and Williams 2 years ago had next to nothing compared to what they got normally.
They might not
against
have gotten
Notre
a first down in the second half.
Yeah, and I heard
Notre Dame.
Mac reference that, and I remember sitting in that stadium going, this is men versus boys watching this game, and this is the difference between big-time college football and pretty decent ACC football. And nobody said anything about how good Carolina's run offense was there because it was elite, and they still did nothing against Notre Dame. Go ahead, Ross.
I tweeted out the 24/7 Sports team composite rankings, which ranks all the teams based on I think it's only based on recruiting rankings. I may be wrong, but I don't know how else they would do it. So they take every player on the roster, some algorithm, and they rank each team based on the players they have on the roster and their recruiting ranking. And obviously, like Alabama, Georgia, 1-2, Ohio State, 1, 2, 3. But Notre Dame is 10. This is 2022. Notre Dame is 10, and UNC is 16. But that's because UNC's recruited really well the last 3 years. Notre Dame has recruited probably pretty much the same last 4 or 5 years. But Notre Dame's talent is older. You have 4 and 5 stars who are seniors, redshirt seniors, while UNC's 5-star talent is freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores, juniors. So while they're pretty close, 16 is really good for UNC. Their talent is younger and getting to the point where they're sophomores, juniors, seniors contributing, whereas Notre Dame has that 4 and 5-star talent pretty consistently in each class that's developed and experienced and mature. Something to note there. You've got because Brian Kelly was there, John, 10 years or so?
Mm-hmm. And you recruit for games like these. You don't recruit to beat App State or Georgia State. You recruit to have the size to compete on the offensive and defensive line against good, deep college football teams like Notre Dame is, especially on the offensive line and even on the defensive line. UNC has not faced a line like this yet this season. And they might not face a line this good for the rest of the year when you look at the rest of the ACC. So this is going to be a huge challenge for North Carolina. Can they block up Notre Dame's defensive line, and can they protect Drake May enough on offense?
Should we fire up some questions here?
Well, let's get some questions, but Ross, you retweeted earlier today Dagon Box Score's tweet. This is an interesting one. Past quarterbacks in Notre Dame Carolina games. Joe Daly and Brady Quinn. I was there for that one. Hakeem Nicks went off in that game. But Notre Dame ended up winning. Cam Sexton versus Clausen, Marquise versus Golson, even though I thought Golson was out that game. Chaz Surratt, Ian Book, Hal Book, Sam Howell, Jack Cohn, those are washes. And then Drake May and Drew Pine. I mean, Carolina has a shot. I don't think they win this game by running up and down the field against Notre Dame. I think Drake May, again, has to have a big game. You got any questions you got, Ross, coming in?
Well, I think, John,
I can go a little rapid fire here, maybe.
Shout out to Sherelle McMillan in the chat here.
Yeah,
mixing it up.
Sherelle loves low-key. He's a low-key football guy.
Yeah, he's a great football fan.
He just does baseball on the side. He's a Dallas guy, though, which – sorry, Sherelle. Can Marcus Freeman coach?
Man, so look, I don't –
25% of the time?
The guy's my age, which is just like you look at what these guys do. You're sitting here, on a podcast with Adam Smith.
He's handsome too, isn't he?
Mark, yeah. Look, that seat, it shouldn't be hot, but 1 and 2, man, it's not a great look. John, what do you think? You're the Notre Dame fan.
The answer is yes. Marcus Freeman can coach. He was handed a tough draw early on. He lost his bowl game, but that was a tough bowl game. They had a tough opening game against Ohio State. Give him time. This is, if you ask Jason Staples as well, he's tweeted about this. It's a well-coached team. They just need a little bit of time, and they have a dearth of offensive talent, which makes things difficult for Freeman.
And he can recruit too, right? I mean, is that sort of his forte, is being a superb recruiter, I would think.
Yes, he went undefeated in the offseason, but that obviously didn't do much once they started losing.
I mean, look, young guy that looks the part. Like, you would think it's also – I mean, they chose him over going out and getting a big name coach. They chose him, promoting him from defensive coordinator, Ohio State guy. There was a reason why they just don't promote anybody to that job. I mean, that's one of the top 10 jobs in the nation. And that AD there is one of the best in the nation at Notre Dame. So you would think they know what they're doing with him. It's just Ohio State's tough. And then Marshall, it's a tough look. but you would think things get stabilized there. Big game for them too this weekend.
I was
Big
going to say, Notre Dame's not going to wait. Notre Dame, if they lose to Carolina, they're staring at 4-8. I might disagree with you, John, about how the time factor there. Anyway, do you think Carolina will have a good running game versus Notre Dame? Josh Tyree with the question. We talked about it earlier. I do not. I'll go on record saying I do not. What do you think, Adam?
I think that the Georgia State game was won by the running game in the second half because UNC didn't have much going on the ground in the first half. Not that they struggled to score or anything, but the running game took over in the second half. Omarion Hampton woke up. He had 3 yards at halftime, finished with 110. But, yeah, I think the difference between Georgia State and Notre Dame is significant. And I think that is going to be a tough ask. But I think that, I don't think the Tar Heels are going to run wild on them by any means. But I think they can do enough to win the game. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I don't know what the combinations are going to be because it seems like, different guys kind of step up in different games. But I think they can do enough. I don't think it's going to be beautiful, but I think they can do enough.
One thing to note about UNC's offensive line is I think William Barnes said today that he is now the right tackle. In so many words, go listen to the William Barnes interview on YouTube or on the message boards. He said, yeah, I'm at right tackle pretty much. And then Spencer Rowland and Jonathan Adorno are at right guard. Interesting development. And, well, there's a question about Rowland. Look, producer John on top of it. Maybe probably a little better there. I mean, you would think, Rowland, I don't know. It's he let some people by there at right tackle. Maybe Barnes a little better there. You would trust the offensive coordinator there, the offensive line coach. So it's a little position movement there. And that's tougher than you would think. I mean, you have to change everything when you change a position in the offensive line. Everything's a little bit different. Guard and tackle are very, very different positions.
All right. Was Downs, Rick Miner asked, was Downs a full go at practice today? We talked about it a little bit. Ross, you mentioned, or you guys both mentioned that Drake may talked about throwing the ball to Andre Green. Downs, he plays, right? There's no question he plays Saturday, right?
Sourced intel here only on the beat. Ready, set it. Downs and Green, full contact, full practice, all reps today on Tuesday in Chapel Hill, full go. That's sourced intel, Adam.
All right, John, this is a question for you. Josh Tyree throwing up a bunch of questions. Do you think Pine instead of, is it Buchner?
Buckner, yeah.
Buckner. Oh, yeah, that would be a K in North Carolina. Buckner make much of a difference?
My hot take is that Buckner is actually worse than Pine.
Oh, my God.
Pine he was nervous on
So
Saturday.
can Marcus Freeman not coach if he was playing the worst of the two quarterbacks? What's the deal here?
Yeah, it's tricky. I think Buckner has a higher ceiling. He's also younger. But Pine was nervous on Saturday, but once he settled in, he was able to complete some passes. Buckner really does not have very much of an arm, a deep passing threat. He's a running quarterback first, whereas Pine is a little bit more of a hybrid. So I think Pine actually playing helps Notre Dame on Saturday. Should we go to the next question here? What's the status of J.Q. Conley?
He won't be playing against Notre Dame.
Yeah. He has J.Q. Conley has not returned to practice. That is not sourced intel. That's per Mac Brown. So he hasn't. He's coming off the ACL injury. He's coming off surgery. He has not practiced yet. But the people around the program said that he's doing well. I think that was a direct quote. He's doing well and progressing, but maybe his timetable is a little bit behind schedule. I think Max said that this week would have been the very earliest he could have returned to practice, considering the window on that injury and the recovery that's involved. So,
hey, follow AJ Blue on Instagram, and you'll see Ja'Cory Conley's full recovery workouts. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see him gradually get back to football moves. Do we want to talk ACC headquarters at all? Is that the space for this? I don't know.
We can talk. Well, is there any more questions here? Oh, well, let's ask this. Let's get both y'all's take on this. Chris Phillips says, what's the best matchup for UNC in this game? And I'll sort of blend it with what's Carolina's most important thing, run defense or pass defense? Where's Carolina match up best here, Adam?
Drake May. I mean, that is my answer, honestly. Like, I'm sorry not to address your question, but like,
no, I agree with you.
I just that is my answer. I think that's what it boils down to. I think it boils down to getting off the field on third down. I know that's not exactly rocket science, but I think there's going to be a lot of third and mediums, third and shorts, to where, you know, 3rd and 4, can Notre Dame get 4 yards, 5 yards? Can the Carolina defense get off the field? You know, I think that's going to be something to watch. But I just think that this is going to be an early type of legacy definer, you know, to see what Drake May has for them. You know, they're coming off 2 weeks. They're coming off 2 weeks of rest here, and I think he's the key. I know that's oversimplifying. I think that's it to me.
Quarterback is the most important position, and Drake May has the advantage over Notre Dame. I think it's huge. Force a couple turnovers and run the ball and hit some wide receivers deep. You know, I think it's set up. I mean, what's the spread now? Pretty even. Pick 'em. So
you're starving for turnovers too. Where Ross and I were talking, I looked it up. The Carolina defense has forced 3 turnovers this season. They've only forced 1 in the last 2 games. I think it's 158 plays that App State and Georgia State ran on offense. 158 plays, 1 turnover on those 158 plays. So they're starving.
Vahasek said it. Look, the defense wants to prove. They hear everything. They see everything. They want to prove they can play. They're motivated. These athletes, they're alpha males that want to show what they can do. I mean, Tony Grimes and Miles Murphy and Ray and all these guys, Desmond Evans, like they want to prove that they're a solid group. So this is the game. They've heard everything. They have 2 weeks to prepare. Like you would think they kind of step up to the plate now. It's not Georgia State. It's not App State. They see Notre Dame, the Golden Domers, the jersey, the Irish, Rudy, all that stuff. Like this is you would think they're a little bit motivated to hit that next level and bring it and be focused this week and improve. So you would think the defense kind of shows up a little bit.
Let's talk about a bunch of great questions from the iron group that is our fan base on the Beat Live. Ross and Adam. Ross, you can chime in since you brought it up. What do the Guilford County, Alamance County people think of the ACC moving to Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, you got no one better to talk about it than Mr. ACC Adam Smith, Adam Mebane. But look,
I can talk about Ross if you don't want to go.
I'll set you up. Born and raised in Greensboro, you know, well connected in the Gate City. Look, it was going to happen, and there's no sense in denying the ACC's move to Charlotte. I didn't know that Charlotte had the fifth or sixth largest airport in the world.
No, I didn't know that either.
I looked it up, and I was like, geez, like ahead of a bunch of Chinese airports. But it makes sense. Everything the ACC does, they got the basketball tournament often in Charlotte, ACC football championship, a bunch of other tournaments in Charlotte. It's a hub. It's closer to Clemson. It's close to all the North Carolina ACC schools. It's more of a marketing and sports business hub. Greensboro, look, is always 30 years behind Charlotte, maybe 45 years behind Charlotte, and about 15 years behind Raleigh. I've always said that. You know, it's just a little bit behind those, and so it just makes sense. You can fly in from everywhere. It's interesting. I was on the press conference with Jim Phillips today, and it's a 69-year run in Greensboro, and now it's time to hand it off to the Queen City. Adam, your thoughts on the move? You've been covering this league longer than I have.
I mean, I'm wistful about it, Ross. You know I am. I think that yes, everything is trended toward going to a place like Charlotte. I'm glad it's staying in North Carolina. They had floated Orlando. You know, I'm not sure if I'm in Florida right now, but you know, they had floated Orlando. I'm glad it's staying in North Carolina. But I mean, the ACC was born at Sedgefield Inn in 1952, 1953. I always think about that when I've gone to cover the Wyndham championships.
The smoke-filled room is how they always set it up, a smoke-filled room in Central Country Club.
It's just cool, you know, like, I mean, it's just cool to think about the history that was there. You know, Tommy and I go back to when the league was 8 teams, you know, before Florida State came in. You remember when Florida State came in and it was like, oh my God, 9 teams. What in the world?
Right.
What are we going to do? Oh, let's have a Les Robinson Invitational.
All the way down there in Florida. What? But there has to be a Jim Boeheim Greensboro joke here somewhere. Boeheim picking his nose and talking about restaurants in Greensboro or something. But,
Bennington's.
I mean, yeah, they get what? The ACC got $15 million out of North Carolina taxpayers too, by the way.
Someone asked that question. Someone from the News and Record said, what do you say to the taxpayers, the schools that are suffering, all the people that are suffering for funds to put $15 million for them to move or to stay in North Carolina, whatever? It was kind of pretty funny.
I mean, they did. It happened. I mean, it happened. I know 15 million ain't much to you over there, Ross, but but I mean, I'm a little sad to see it leave Greensboro. I'm glad the basketball tournaments will still be in Greensboro. I guess it's just sort of a figurehead thing too, to where it doesn't, it really doesn't affect people's lives other than the people that work for the league. But
people are treating this like it's Amazon picking their second headquarters. Like, how many jobs are actually moving from Greensboro to Charlotte? I mean,
I think it's 50 or something. Yeah, I mean,
it's not like it's like hiring these people in need of like minimum wage jobs. You're hiring like these people that are in good positions. It's not like you're like, we're gonna bring all this infrastructure and investment into Charlotte. No, you're moving jobs. People who already have jobs to Charlotte, and they're gonna buy a house in Myers Park.
Or take Amtrak or something,
So we started with a rivalry joke. We end with the ACC move. You can't make it up on the Beat Live. Sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. Anything else, boys?
Hey, come see us in the Bowls lot, right, Tommy?
Yep. 12:30, we will crank up the live show. Come see us in the Bowls lot. Hang out 12:30 to 2:30 before everybody heads over to Keenan Stadium to get that work done. It should be a fun time. And Adam, your standing segment, bring it. You brought it last time we were in the Bowls lot. Bring it again.
Are you talking about bringing us? Am I signing off with a stat here? Is that what you told me?
Bowls lot segment.
Bowls lot segment. But you can also give me a stat. Okay.
Well, I was prepared for that. I'm sorry. We talked last week, Sands producer John, about Carolina has started 4-0 once since 1983. They started 4-0 in 1983 under Dick Crum. But if you take that out, they've only started 4-0 one other time since then, 1987, the first tour for Mac. Notre Dame, as you know, is coming in 1-2. And I have looked it up over here. The last time Notre Dame started 1-3, not that long ago, 2016. But I thought, interestingly enough, the game that dropped them to 1-3 was a loss to Duke in 2016. That does not compute, does it? I mean, I don't know if Daniel Jones was running around back there for David Cutcliffe or what. But
yeah, he would have had to been.
I was thinking that must have been a good Duke team. Went and looked up the Duke. Duke was 4-8 that year. So I mean, I don't know. So we're looking at if Carolina wins Saturday, they're 4-0 for the first time since 1997. Notre Dame's 1-3 for the first time since 2016.
Yep, we almost got out of here without the porn bots. It's been a fun show, boys. Johnny T-Shirt, JohnnyT-Shirt.com, Blue Shirt Vodka. Come see us in the Bowls lot.
I got him.
You got him? Look, you had it on go.
I was on autopilot at the end there. My bad.
It's been a fun show, folks. Join us on Wednesday night for the game plan. So I guess tomorrow night for the game plan with Jason Staples and Greg Barnes. Got to go on Wednesday night, so mark your calendars. Ross, Adam, John, it's been fun.